Good morning again, people. Welcome back to Rax Global. Finally got that move back to the previous day's value area that we were looking for. So finally I can jump in. But let's have a look at our daily chart and our 30-minute chart, and let's dive in and have a look at the day. So no further ado, see you guys in there. Okay, so first thing we want to do is have a look on our daily chart, and we can see very clearly that yesterday we have had a day which is very interesting. So I'll just get rid of this line. You can see that we've opened. We've barely tested down into the previous day before we've continued driving up. We actually did have a major move upwards, roughly to around 4887, but we pulled back and closed roughly around 4829 for the rest of the day. So not actually, do you know what I mean? Any kind of bearish real signs when you look at the overall kind of daily structure, but you can see that we did have a major pullback at some point in the day. So we'll go down to our 30-minute chart just to have a little look at that. But as you can see this morning in the session, we have tested downwards, but we haven't managed to go under the candle or under the previous day's low, and we've started pushing upwards, finding that bullish kind of support that we've seen from this long-term resuming trend. So it's going to go down to our 30-minute chart to give us a clearer picture, but long-term structure, we can see not much has changed. We can obviously see some sign of obviously kind of sellers in the market, but I don't believe it's for them to be reversing the trend. It's just because there's been a lot of imbalances this week and price needed a little bit of a correction or a pickup before we could actually continue moving upwards comfortably. So that's more where I'm placed than me thinking sellers have control of the market, but we will need the smaller time frame just to look at positioning. So when we just trying to go down to our 30-minute chart, I need to move my head. But yes, so if we're having a little look at this 30-minute, pretty much a clearer picture here. So we can see that first thing is this morning I'm in our London session. I was a little bit late today, sorry. So just we can see we've opened under the value, but let's talk about yesterday first before we come back to that. So we can see yesterday we've opened above value, way above value as well, and way outside of the range. So we can see clearly that we are expecting some buyers to come into the market. We had obviously our acceptance and rejection situation, and this yesterday was actually a rejection. You can see we haven't actually traded above Asia's high or any of the moves that happened prior in the day. We've just traded upwards, and then we've had a massive push downwards, and we didn't actually complete it during the London session, which is another thing we have to discuss. But you can see, so during the London session, we did actually just trade down under the initial balance, but we left the value area that is still above the previous day, and also a range that was still above the previous day. Now, price outside of the London session has actually traded back down to the previous day's London session range. We did actually come back to the top of the range before we got that massive push off. Now, this was roughly around 7:30. You can see once we came into interaction with this area, even though it wasn't in the London session, it must have had a significant amount of orders at this level to push the market at least up temporarily. Now, during the Asian session, we've actually continued off that strength, and we've now basically opened just under the value area, but inside the range of yesterday. So first thing we want to look at is that is a sell side imbalance. So we have a sell side imbalance this morning when we've opened, but we can see yesterday that the value area has actually moved to the upside. So what do we want to wait for today? Today specifically, what we want to see is a move ideally up to the value area low or up to the value area high, and that would be particularly for a selling move. So we want to see if sellers actually do have the perception of the price that was shown outside of the session yesterday, because reality is we don't want to get left behind on price, and we have actually opened with this sell side imbalance. But if price manages to break through the value area low and potentially start trading upwards towards the high of the day, then it would mean that buyers have actually taken control. So it's a day where you have to very much be careful. Ideally, this is our first area of interest at 4847. If sellers protect price here, I think it will be a lot clearer and price would just continue moving downwards. However, if price manages to break back into value, that's when we have to be a little bit more conservative and wait to see who's clearly in control. I think a move above these highs will suggest buyers are in control, so you want to wait for a breakout and a retest. However, if not, then we should probably see this value area high and potentially the high of the session yesterday raided, and then sellers can come in then. So I think it will just be a day where you have to be a little bit more conservative, because we can see that conviction may be changing. But ideally, you just want to ensure that sellers don't get into the market at this level. If they get into the market here, I think that will be the clearest day. We won't even have to worry about the buyers. It will just go straight down. But once they fail to move, if sellers fail to allow black price to basically break this boundary, if sellers allow price to break this boundary, then yeah, it could be a long day for them. So I don't want to go into too much detail or start bogging you down, but yeah, I think that should be sufficient. So have a great day trading, guys. Like, comment, share, subscribe as usual, and let me know what you think. Take care.